Hello and welcome to Writers Chat. My name is Andrea R. Freeman and I'm with Caroline Topperman. Episode 6 today. I don't want to sound like we're yelling at you, but to be a writer, you must read.
To read.
You have to read. I'm sorry we're giving you
all
homework
the time.
every day. Like you should be reading as you're watching this, but then you wouldn't be paying attention. But no, this is a big thing. And what I love about today's episode too is we're going to be sharing like why it's important for us to do this as writers, the books that and authors that have influenced us in general, but and also like when we were writing our whatever we've been writing, if it was our books, our blogs, whatever it might be, like what was our books and authors of inspiration. Like, what are we doing even now? Like, what are we reading now for our newer projects? And what I love too that we get to share later is what's out there that's not written yet that we would like to read that would be inspiring us. But I love this episode because it's kind of like a giving back kind of thing, like how we were inspired by the authors that we read and we're giving back that from what we work on and now we're sharing their work too. So it's just like a nice full circle of why this is so important to as well as being a how you want to call it, a successful writer or a well writer, but you also have to be also well versed in the reading part.
Absolutely. I mean, you can't be a writer without reading, period. And I will defend that. If anybody has anything to say against it, go for it. Yeah. Because how are you going to know how to write? It doesn't matter. You can go to school as much as you want and you can learn craft there, but you're going to learn craft really by studying what other writers are doing. Mm-hmm. And whether it's how they outline their book, like how the book is structured, you're going to learn that. You're going to learn a beautiful phrasing from books. You're going to learn how the writer thinks, how they present what they're thinking. And you absolutely 100% have to be reading all the time to do that. Mm-hmm. And you should be reading in the genre that you're writing in. And you should be reading in other genres too, to give yourself either a bit of a break or to see what other authors are doing, to see what's happening. And not only does it matter for you and your craft, but it also matters when it comes time to promotion. Even if you're going to traditionally publish, or you have to know what is out there, what's happening, what are people looking for right now. So whether you're self-publishing or you're going with a publisher, you still need to know that. Yeah. It's still how you position yourself in the marketplace. So, yep.
Yeah, no, you make really such important points there because when you're writing your query, your letter, your proposal, your marketing strategy, you have to do like what is the comparisons to your book, the contrast. It's like you have to know like what's out there. So my book is like this and that and this, theme and vibe. So it's like you have to, and it's true. It's like you really are, you're reading so many things. It's the research of whatever you need to do for the background. Then it's, books that are of, or articles too. If you're writing articles, online or wherever you're writing them, or other blogs, like what are the other blogs out there? You're finding your voice too. You're not, obviously we're not copying people here, but we're seeing what triggers in a good way, what ticks. Like,
well, I love that you said that. And and like there's no copyright, for example, on structure. Right. So one of the big ones that came out is like a 3-part structure in a book. So you have like your first part, second part, third part. And you can see that happening more and more in the market right now. I think one of the first people that really came out with that was Eat, Pray, Love, right? Mm-hmm. Where she has those 3 sections. But there's no copyright. So you actually can do that if it works for your story specifically. Right. And so it's paying attention to that. And there've been some brilliant, I'll dive in. I was writing my memoir last year, really getting into it with my editor. And one of the things she said was keep reading. And she would make me do book reports to her every week. So I wound up reading something like, 57 books last year because of that. And what happened though, is that not only was I reading the books, but I was doing a little summary for myself in my journal, but what worked, what didn't work, what I liked, what I didn't like. And like and also what my first thought was when I picked up the book, because then these were things I could take. And when I was looking at my writing with a critical eye, I could really see, oh, okay, this works. This doesn't work. And that's so important. I'm going to dive in with this book. So I bring her up every now and then, but Tessa McWatt, Shame on Me, brilliant. She has the best table of contents that I think I've ever really seen, where she, and I'll take a step back here. One of the things that I was also doing when I was reading and paying attention to what I was reading, because I'm writing about the immigrant experience, because I'm writing about different cultures, and I'm looking at the world as a whole with all of that. So I really made the effort to take writers who live in different countries, to find authors who are not necessarily white, who come from very different cultures. And that was part of what I was doing on purpose as well. And also because I think that's really important, because how else are you ever going to understand the world if you only read one kind of thing? But one of the things she did is she designed her book like a science experiment. So her book starts off with a hypothesis, and then she breaks down her body and the book is written in sections about that. So she talks about her skin, she talks about her eyes, her nose, her mouth, and she puts in stories from her life. So because this is a memoir, according to each one of those sections, and then she has a conclusion at the end.
Oh.
Brilliant.
Yes.
Brilliant, right?
Yeah.
And what it also does is it makes it more accessible, because, obviously I'm a different color than she is. She's black. I'm a different color. She actually did partially live in Toronto, where I am right now. So that part's similar. And she's in England now. But she does, her experience growing up was very different than mine. But what it did is it made it accessible to me, so I could understand what she was going through, just a little bit better. And I think by doing that, it makes us all human, so we can understand each other a lot better.
Yeah. Oh my God. I love that. That's what I love. It's like, and there's been other books too that I've read, not related to the things I've written, but you just admire so much, like their take on telling the stories, spreading that message. That there've been other authors too that I'm like, oh my God, it's so brilliant. Like how you are able to get this out there. And even if it's, maybe if it's not even your genre that you're doing, like just reading like the opposite, it will spark something in you. So I'm happy that you shared that. And by the way, I love, very impressive with the 57 books that you read. I love that. But yeah, we've talked about this on previous chats, but I'll make it very, very quick. But I had a reading comprehension problem in school growing up, and it was very difficult for me to connect to books, and I would read them, but like book reports were like nightmares for me. And, my mom, and my dad were always trying to help me and work with me. But it was rough because it was late nights trying to get this book report together. What did I read? But I did get tutors and, all those tests that you have to take at the end of the year. Some of them I did good, some of them I didn't, but, through time it did get better. But as I get older, the two books, I think once I went into college, like it got better for me in the interests of what I was reading. But like when I was reading Dan Brown books, and J.K. Rowling, which is interesting because they're very opposite ends. You've got like the historical mystery of Dan Brown, which I love. And then you've got the enchanted mystical world of J.K. Rowling. So it's just like these two different worlds just made me love to read even more. So I get it. If, when you're in school, you're just like, here, read this. You have to read this. So you're not going to be, some of us may not be as enthusiastic about what we have to read. But hopefully if you get older, especially if you are a writer, you find why you will love to read. There's a quote, and I think I'm messing it up, but it's like, I think it's something like, we are all readers. We just haven't found the right book yet, or something
like that.
Something like that.
Yeah.
So for me, when I was writing my first book, which is like 6 years ago now, it's insane, but I wrote Messages from My Grandparents in Heaven. And it's about my connection with my family, even though they're not here anymore, my grandparents, how I still feel them with me. What I was reading at the time, or a little bit before I started, really diving into the book itself, I was reading, if some people may know, I'm sorry, I'm trying to get it in the camera. There
you go.
Yes. Mitch Albom's The 5 People You Meet in Heaven. Oh my God, I loved this so much. And I loved how he had his character do his flashbacks to parts of his life that he was trying to understand the life that he lived during that time. And I was so drawn to that I loved that. I wanted to do something like that. Again, not copying, but just something like that to express like the transitions of my memories of my grandparents or their life memories. So it's interesting because we've talked about this too, I think, when we are with our editors and, they're going to come out with, hey, you know what, like this, let's change this up a little bit, but like, if you feel so strongly, no, there's a reason why I need this paragraph to look like this. There's a message here I can't have you start picking out of, and now it's going to lose its translation. So like the editor that I had for my first book, I didn't like that I was just breaking off into these memories the way I was doing it. I'm like, but no, like this, you can tell me everything else and I'll update all those changes that you want, but like I have to have it this way. So that's another thing too, like when you're just so strong about your voice and your language of how it just resonates for you, how you're telling your story, because you found yourself through like other things that you've read. And then the other book I wanted to share is the book that I'm writing now, my poetry book, that I actually just really revealed my cover title and the cover itself. So it's called And Everything in Between is the name of the book. Thank you. It actually there was a lot more to it. And then the last part of it is what you see now, like, and everything in between. It was so much more than that. But while I was writing it, so this is Stuff I've Been Feeling Lately by Alicia Cook. I love her. Like every book she writes is like, is she watching me? Is she in the room with me? Because it's just even if you're not going through what she is going through, but you find yourself in her writing. And it was crazy because like what I was writing, it was almost like we're almost the same in how we are telling our stories through our poetry. And I love to listen to music while I'm writing whatever, because basically my book is about all of my experiences in life thus far, relationships, life purpose, reconnecting with the self, all of those things. And, but listening to music helped me write this book. So in this particular book, like she'll write, because it looks like a cassette tape.
Well, it's a cassette tape. Yeah, I think that just speaks for itself.
Right. And each poem is called track 63, right, whatever. And then she'll write in the bottom, this is what I'm currently listening to write this. So it was almost like a confirmation for me reading this, that you're on the right track with how you are wanting to write the book.
Yeah. And I think that's like the big thing that can get us going and moving through it. So like I said, for me, I was studying, so for my memoir, I'm studying family and relationships and culture and how and religion and all of that, how all of that fits in the world, and how that also, like, politics and how countries, love, hate each other, people. I mean, all of that's going on right now. So one of the things that for me was so interesting too, was so important, was to get out of the whole North American mentality too. So, I mean, this one, she's North American, but two trees make a forest. So she travels she's like in search of my family's past among Taiwan's mountains and coasts. And so she really actually brings in nature into this, because she does do a big nature hike, and she keeps tying that back into her family. So this is a really, really good one. I think you'd like it.
I like that.
And then the other one, because again, when you mentioned voice, And my writing is very much like I speak. My voice is very casual. It's very accessible. It's very just normal. So, you know, and I'm working at it too. So one of the books, and this one actually I wound up getting in one of those mystery packs when you know, when you go to the bookstore and sometimes they have these random books. So anyway, really good mystery pack. But this book, You've Changed, because it's a series of essays that she writes. And it's her first book. It's her first it's a nonfiction book, but it's so wonderful because she goes back to Myanmar and she talks about relationships between, you know, she makes fun of like her family there and her friends, and then she makes fun of the US and the customs and traditions, and she talks about the clash of everything. And I love it because it just takes you out of yourself. And even though I've never been to Myanmar, but you know, I moved somewhere and I had to, you know, speak in Polish and I moved to Poland and I had to figure all of that out. So, you know, what it does is it opens up the world a little bit too. So it's not just, you're not living just in your own little bubble. You're also living in the bigger, wider world and seeing like, hey, we come from two very different cultures, but we've had very similar experiences. And you said something about how how sometimes the book, it really makes you feel like it's like it touches your soul. It's like the book is a part of you. So you know, and I totally get that too. So I actually just finished this book, and it's called Yiddish Women Writers. And most of them, I want to say, are dead. Like they're older, but you know, it's funny. The minute I picked up this book, the minute I started reading, and this is not nonfiction, which I usually do read, but this one, it's like I connected with these women right away, and I knew that I'm not that kind of that next generation, or two generations down, where I don't know, like now I'm rethinking everything I'm writing. This would be the book that I wish was written, and it actually has been. and it recently came out because a lot of this was written in, all of these books were written in Yiddish. So they were just translated, all these stories. So it's actually short stories for this one. But it's funny, but this book is making me think that I want to learn Yiddish. Because of that connection. So it really is that idea. Like it's finding those books that will take you through your life, and then finding the books that you connect with for a project.
Yes. And that's just the beauty of it. You have the libraries you visit and the libraries that you create within your home and your heart. Like there's just like it's like there's a book for everything. There's just
beautiful. Yeah.
Whatever you want to explore, learn about more, find out more about yourself. It's all there. And I love the books that you always, when we do, this is why I love like when we do these kind of chats where we just get to, because there's things I learned from you that have inspired you. And I love like what draws you in and like things that maybe I would have not known to look for. And now it's like, I want to dive.
Yeah, same. Cause and I think that's part of that education, you know? And I think that's exactly, you know, I know people who write, but I don't know, like they say they write science fiction and all they read is science fiction, you know, and that's great. And you should be absolutely 100%, but you should keep your mind open to other voices and the other things people are saying as well, because that's actually what's going to make you grow as a writer, because when you can pick up a book and ultimately you want to lose yourself in the book, right? You want to completely do that, but you also want to be able to keep on reading it with like maybe the critical eyes a little further back, but you have that critical eye because you can pinpoint it. So for you with the book you just picked up, it's not just the book, right? It was everything about the book. It was for anything from the cover to the chapters that are the tape deck. Like you connected on that book with not just not just with the words that were written there, but you connected with so much more. And I think it's like you connected with the spirit of the book.
Yes. Yes.
And I think that's important, because there's books like that are going to take you, those are the books that you're going to come back to time and time again and reread again and again. Mm-hmm. So I had this conversation with someone recently, but I mean, I live in like North America, right? Like I live in Canada, but I think that a lot of the times when a lot of the books that we're looking that are being sold now here have that strong North American voice where it's like, I need action, I need all this stuff. Mm-hmm. And, you know, when I read this book, The Yiddish Women Writers, these are stories that were written back in, like, you know, I don't know, anywhere. These are women some of these women were born in the 1800s still. Yeah. So, nothing really happens. The voice, it's a lot smoother. It's a lot, there's a lot of mysticism too in a lot of these kinds of mm-hmm. works. But it's very different. It's not like punchy, go, 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 let's move, next. Yeah. So it shows you writing from, you know, a different part of the world too, like a different voice, right? And I can connect to this and then be like, oh, this is how I want my voice to sound. Mm-hmm. So,
exactly. And yeah, it's almost like how you said, like even in movies, like, you know, some movies are like, oh, it has to be 100%. That certain criteria for it to be a blockbuster hit or whatever it is. Like,
yes.
You know, you don't have to have, like, the books that are under the radar, just like you have like musicians that they may not be winning Grammys and all those other award shows. I can't think of it right now, MTV, all that stuff, whatever. Yeah. It's like, yeah. It doesn't matter. Like, I love music artists that you've never heard of. And that's amazing because they have this other way of telling the story. And even books, like, you don't have to be on the New York Times bestseller list. It's awesome if you do. But if you've got this certain following because of how you're telling your story that's not like everybody else, it's like, oh, it's so refreshing. You know, it just really is. Like,
yeah. I love that you said that, especially about the movie. The movie example is perfect.
Yeah. That literally just like popped in my head. It's just like when you said that. Yeah. But it reminds me of like the last book I wanted to share with you, because it's like, because for me, I'm always combining my worlds of guidance coaching and writing. And I know that I'm guided to write because of my guardian angels. It's just like one and the same. So I'm also reading this book as a way to help me with what I'm doing with my poetry. So it's called The Meaning Method. There we go. With Emily, by Emily Tamayo Meyer. And we're going to, little surprise-ish, we may try to have her come on as a guest at some point, because she's just so inspiring from books that she's written and how she helps others kind of combine like this. It's literally a spiritual path to writing and publishing. So this is helping me because it's taking what I know from my metaphysical part of my life, and how do you do it in a different way to like write your book and all the stages of what your book goes through, from the spark in your head to the outline on the paper, and then connecting with your audience. And so something like this has definitely helped me. Like, so sometimes like you can read books of support. So this is like a huge support for me. Yeah. As I'm learning what I need to do, but it's like things like that too are other ways to look at what can you read.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then I would say for my, I don't want to sound cocky here, arrogant when I say this, but when it's like, what's the book that, you know, you wish you were written that you want to read? It's like, it's my stories. Cause like, I know like, they're not out there. And I have like so many others that are coming up. Like, these are like ideas from years past, and some I have started it and then I left it and I'm like, oh, this sounds bad, I got to go back into it. But those I'm excited for because I feel like they're just different takes on things that, you know, we kind of know already. So I'm excited for that.
And I think that like the more you read, the more you sort of get comfortable, because it really is, it's getting more and more comfortable in the world. Like, I'm comfortable writing, but it's getting more and more comfortable with my stories by reading other people's stories. So I think when that happens, all those stories will come out.
Yes, that is so true. Oh my God. So yeah, seriously, like, we love to interact. So in the comments, definitely, what are you all reading? Like, what has inspired you, what is resonating with you right now, what is like shocking you that you didn't think that you would be interested in reading, like share with us, tell us, because again, this is something that we all can benefit from. And it's just nice to see like what everyone's path is so different, but they're doing it. Reading is very, as you can see, is very important.
Yeah, we love it. We have, we have bookshelves. Where is it back here ourselves?
We have bookshelves. They have like, what do you call those things?
Stacks of books everywhere.
They're in there.
Yeah, so we definitely, thank you for joining us. We definitely want to know what you're reading. Make sure you let everyone know that this is a great channel. If you'd like to follow us on social media, Andrea is at Soul to Page, and I am at Style on the Side. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Thank you.